For those of you who weren't there this morning, I'm Mick Symonds. For those of you who were here this morning, I'm still Mick Symonds. Okay. I'm going to tell you about the Helix Nebula proof of concepts from the supplier side. My thanks to all my fellow suppliers who contributed this information. This is just me. I'm just being the talking head. I'm just standing here blabbing. The other guys did all the work. It's a view from the supplier side, and I did have in this presentation an overview of all the proof of concepts from the demand side, but you've just seen those, so I don't need to tell you any more about those. This is what we were deploying the proof of concepts on. And the first thing you will notice is that they're all different. Cloud is one of these things. There are some standards in cloud, and we could talk at great length about what they are, but how you actually deploy cloud differs enormously. So every one of those uses a different cloud stack. Availability is an interesting one, that the cloud specialists, Cloud Sigma and Interroute here, are using their standard cloud environment, which was built to run cloud and is their cloud environment, and that's what it does. Ourselves and T-Systems were effectively saying, well, we do lots of things, including cloud, and we can provide you a cloud environment, and went on, in our case, sort of just built one together. We took one of our existing cloud services, stripped it down to bare metal, and put an open Nebula stack on top, basically, and that's what we provided. They run different hypervisors, KVM or the VMware. They have different APIs, and there's also a difference in the networking. The two middle ones were sort of open internet access because they're public clouds, basically, whereas ours and T-Systems are essentially were set up as private clouds, where we would have customers who either have a WAN connection into our environment or a specific sort of connection. And what we were having to do for here was basically open them up. So you need then provisions like firewalls and goodness knows what, DMZs, all sorts of things to secure it. So there was a certain amount of shuffling about to make it all work. So they do differ. There are people who are working on standards, and I'll bore you all to death about the ODCA at some point when the opportunity presents itself. So far, all the customer interfaces were different. So, and I'm going to talk about the blue box in a minute, but basically, when customers were interfacing with these four clouds, they had 4 different interfaces to cope with. As someone said, the technology works. Well, frankly, we'd want to know why if it didn't, but we try and make it sound sexy and exciting as if it might not have worked, but it worked. You know, it did what it said on the tin. So it did what it was supposed to do. They differ, so each one was effectively a bespoke deployment, so there was a lot of effort into making sure that it would work, but it did. There were some issues about software requirements because, you know, it's not just the standard infrastructure. A common API is desired, and that's where we'll get to when I talk about the blue box. That the idea that any of the customers can just issue the same calls and it goes to whoever it's going to in the same protocols would make life a lot more comfortable for them. Also, this ability to move virtual machine images, not just the same image if it's KVM from one to the other, but for instance that you can take a KVM image on one and deploy it on VMware on the other. That sort of idea would make their life significant, and have basically a library of them. I've talked about the private and public deployment models. I keep saying that Helix Nebula is a community cloud, but that's just what I say, and we haven't actually officially rubber stamped or endorsed that statement in any way. There's also an issue as to how we provide the networking between the supply side. At that point, we hadn't got an arrangement with Jayant, with Dante about Jayant, and now we have. And as some of you who were here in the last couple of days will have heard, we're now looking on providing the Jayant access so that you have the full networking capability. Areas such as service structure and architecture require further exploration, we decided, and that's what we've been doing, and that's what some of what we talked about yesterday and this morning was about how ServArc has been developing. So they all completed. I think I'm repeating myself a bit here, unfortunately. Inter-supplier communication, open and often, was crucial to success. If we had gone into this as other than the Helix Nebula consortium, or whatever we call ourselves, if we simply had gone in as different suppliers coming along saying we can do this for you, it would have been a complete dog's breakfast to sort out. Sorry, English expression. It would have been a mess. Because we actually talk to each other as suppliers and sort of openly and honestly, because it's all within the NDA, then we could learn from each other's experience, and TechArc were going and sharing the technical knowledge between them, and that made it work. And then we decided, and we still do, that we need to move on to making it more coherent and work on things like performance and price performance and so on. So the major points of learning we took: we need to sort out the common interfaces, and that's the next presentation. The server image management, intercloud workload assignment and scaling, which is the provisioning bit that says when someone comes along and says I need 1,000 servers, that we can either decide where the best 1,000 servers are or split it across 2 or whatever we do, and the algorithm needs sorting out, but the technology is to do it is known. Sort out the networking, the bandwidth and interfaces, and also the charging algorithms which differed between the various providers. We also talked about breaking a chicken and egg problem. Marilyn said that the suppliers had been contributing resources, and we have. I know internally what we think it's cost us to run this proof of concept, and it was a considerably large amount of money, I'll tell you, because it was, putting things together with expensive people who were spending a lot of time on it, and the revenues we got from it were microscopic compared to what it cost. And I, as a supplier, am trying to persuade my supply organisation that we should go and build this, and when we build a better mousetrap, the world will beat a path to our door. That there will be queued up outside the door waiting to use the environment. And I have an organisation which is a commercial service provider and wants to know things like, what's the total contract value? TCV, for those of you who know the buzzwords. And I have to explain, this is cloud. There is no such thing as TCV. There is no total contract value. We're not going to get a contract that says we will spend so many hundreds of millions with you over the next 5 years, which is how we're used to working. So that's an interesting trend to... and we are aware that we need to sort out, when we do get to talking money, charging and billing.